Hi, I'm Wendy, and this is the Furiously Knit podcast. Today is not a regular podcast episode. I am going to be talking all about my 2025 knitting plans. So I did wake up this morning feeling a little bit under the weather, but I was planning on filming this today, and since we have some sun today and I have a really busy week coming up, I'm just going to go ahead and push through. But please, forgive me if my voice starts to get a little froggy. Hopefully this tea will save me. I have never filmed a knitting plans video before, and I really enjoy watching them myself. And I'm hoping that this might help me stay a little accountable for my knitting. I tend to be kind of a chaos knitter who just casts on willy-nilly, like whenever inspiration strikes or whenever I see a pattern that I like. So hopefully by filming this, I can be a little bit more organized about my projects and hopefully, in theory, get a little bit more accomplished this year. So before we get into the plans, I will just mention what I'm wearing. This is the bulky basic drop shoulder sweater by James N. Watts. I knit mine in a strand of Wool of the Andes tweed, and I held 2 lace weight yarns with it. One was a Hedgehog Fibers boucle, and then another one was just like a basic silk mohair that was just like a plain white. But the rainbow, so we have rainbow speckles from the Hedgehog Fibers, and then we have some tweedy bits from the Wool of the Andes tweed. This is one of my most worn sweaters, even though it is super bulky. I think the loose gauge does help it feel not as like suffocatingly warm as it could potentially feel. So I wear this often. I would say I wear this at least once a week. And it's great for Chicago winters when it gets really cold. I can also wear it comfortably when I'm inside. So I don't know, it's kind of a magical sweater. I really love it. And I love how these 3 yarns together, I love this like speckly rainbow fabric that's happening. So that is my bulky basic drop sleeve sweater. Okay, I have my computer set up here with my notes. So if you see me looking down, I am trying to remember everything that I want to talk about. I do want to start with a plan that I talked a little bit about in the last podcast, which is a Lento sweater. We know her, we love her. I have knit multiple Lentos. I've always held a strand of fingering with a strand of mohair for my Lentos, but for this one I'm just going to hold this DK weight yarn. This was a hand-dyed DK weight yarn from J'adore Fibers. A few summers back she had a Sanrio collection, and this is the Cinnamoroll colorway. And Cinnamoroll is one of my daughter's favorite Sanrio characters, so I bought the yarn. I knit her a No Frills Junior by Petite Knit, which she loved. She didn't wear it that often, and then she grew out of it. So we have frogged her sweater, we have caked up the yarn, and I'm going to start in the next few weeks working on her Cinnamoroll Lento. I did knit up a swatch to check the gauge, and I am not quite hitting gauge, so I'm gonna have to futz around with it a little bit to see, to figure out what size to knit her. She's currently 12 and a half years old. She loves an oversized sweater, so I might just go ahead and knit the size that I would normally wear for her. She has been wearing some of my hand knit sweaters recently, so I think that might work out really well. I do think I'll go down a needle size because my gauge swatch is pretty loose. And I think typically it's fine because if you're knitting with the mohair held with your fingering weight, I think the fluffy mohair kind of fills in the gaps in the knitting a little bit more, which is not happening with just a DK on its own. So I'll go down a needle size. I will probably knit my regular size, and fingers crossed that it will work out for her. So also the Lento seemed like the right choice based on the quantity of yarn that I have. I don't have a ton of this yarn. I think I only bought 3 skeins, which was fine at the time because she was significantly smaller. But I do think that I think this is going to work out perfectly. And if nothing else, it'll be a little cropped, which is kind of her jam anyway. So first up for 2025 will be the Cinema Roll Lento sweater for one of my girls. Next up on my knitting plans is the sweater number 23 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I currently have one of these on the needles. This is my first time knitting a My Favorite Things pattern, and I'm really enjoying it so far. And I'm already in love with my current sweater number 23 whip. So I already know that this is going to be a repeat pattern for me. I actually went ahead and ordered the yarn for it. I saw Mel from the Cozy Cardigans knitting podcast was knitting a sweater in Barocco Mochi yarn, which is like a heavy worsted weight chainette yarn. So it's a blown yarn. It's like a tube, and then it's got the little fibers inside the tube, which I know is going to make like a really airy fabric. I ordered it in the colorway Salt and Pepper, which is, it seems like it's a really sort of dark charcoal gray with some rainbowy speckles. Again, here we go with the rainbow speckles. I can't stop myself, but I think this yarn, I'm pretty sure this yarn is discontinued because it was a little bit hard to find, and it's on sale. So I feel like I got a really good deal for a sweater's quantity of this beautiful yarn, and I am really excited to knit this up. I feel like there's probably not enough time this winter to get it done, so this might be something that I push a little bit later this year so that it'll be done for next fall and winter, because I have 3 sweaters on the needles right now, one being a test knit, so I don't think I have time to jump into my second sweater number 23 at the moment, but I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be like a perfect addition to my wardrobe, and I am really looking forward to that knit. Next up on my list of sweaters to knit is the Cove sweater by the Knit Pearl Girl. I've knit several of her patterns, and I've test knit for her a couple of times. I'm currently test knitting the Lose sweater for her, and I love the way she writes her patterns. I love the finished objects, and I'm really looking forward to the Cove sweater because it's kind of a basic stockinette. It's a modified drop shoulder construction, which I love. I think it fits me really well. I love a drop shoulder, and this one has, the Cove sweater has some sculptural elements to it that I really, really love. It's got, the hem is higher and sort of curved in the front, and then, lower in the back, and the sleeve shaping is really interesting to me. It's, when you get down to sort of this area right before the cuff, There's sort of like dramatic decreases, which gives it this sort of angled in look. Hopefully you can tell by the photo that I'm going to put on the screen. But I really think that shaping is interesting, and it's just a little more modern than just like sort of a basic straight sleeve. And I really love the way that the front hem is higher in the front and sort of curves down on the sides as it goes around to meet the back hem. I do have yarn in mind for this one as well. I have the silk mohair. It's from Fiber for the People. It's in her Jupiter colorway, which is really beautiful, sort of dark navy. It's a really deep color, and then it also has areas of like really bright, vibrant, rainbowy color. And I do plan to hold that with a strand of worsted, probably the Cascade 220 in the color navy. So you'll be able to see on the screen the two yarns that I'm considering for this sweater. I think this one might be up next once I finish the current test knit I have on the needles for Sophie. I think that because of the sort of heavy worsted weight of the yarn, it'll be a fairly quick knit. And then hopefully I can get this done in time before cold weather is finished in Chicago. So I would love to wear this before next fall. It's just a matter of getting some whips off the needles. Okay, this next sweater is a very recent addition to my knitting plans list. I was on Instagram the other day just sort of browsing around, and I saw the lace loop sweater by Other Loops, and I fell in love with this sweater. It reminds me somewhat of a sweater that I've had saved on Pinterest for several years, and every year I look at this sweater and I think I could totally knit this sweater. I have not done so yet, but the lace loop sweater is a similar silhouette and similar colors, as you'll see. Sort of a gray base with navy stripes. The blue is a little bit different, but this gray and blue striped combo with the sort of oversized or like wide-ish sleeves is very similar to that Pinterest sweater. And this one I feel would be a really amazing transitional piece here in Chicago for spring and fall. It's got stripes and then panels of looks like eyelets, like an eyelet panel that forms like an area of lace. So great for spring, great for fall, probably even good for chilly summer nights or sitting on the lakeshore in the evenings when it starts to get a little bit chilly. I am so excited to knit this one. It's will be released at the end of February, according to Other Loops Instagram account. So check this one out if you are as obsessed as I am. The yarns called for are a fingering and a lace weight held together, which would make around a DK weight gauge. I'm considering just using a DK weight and skipping the mohair part of it just to make it even more appropriate for warmer weather. But this might potentially even be like a summer knit depending on the fiber content of the yarn that I decide on. So I am very excited about this sweater. I think it looks so cool. It looks so modern. Yeah, I don't typically go for like lacy patterns in knitting, but I love this. I love this. I love everything about this. I love how it's styled too in the Instagram photos that Other Loops has posted, with the necklaces and sort of tucked a little half tuck into some high-waisted jeans, and I am very, very excited about this one. All right, we are moving right along into some summer knitting, spring and summer patterns. I am, for some reason, like really, really excited about my spring and summer knitting this year. I typically knit at least one summer top every year, but I'm never like that jazzed about it, and I am super jazzed this year. I don't know if I'm just like sick of winter. We had a couple of icy days this week here in Chicago, which was my very psychologically difficult for me. I don't know what it is about ice. I don't love snow either, to be honest. But there's just something about ice that torments me, and I think maybe it's the recent ice storms that we had that's got me just really excited about the thought of warmer weather, no more ice. I'm imagining, we spend quite a bit of time at the lakeshore. We live really close to the lakeshore, and my daughters love a beach day, a picnic. If you've been around for a while, I also love to garden, so I'm just imagining knitting these tops, and I am really excited about it. All of my fellow cold weather girlies are probably right there with me. My first top that I'm interested in knitting is the Cloud Top by Petite Knit. I've knit the June tank before, and I love it. I personally don't love wearing really thin straps, although I can do a tank top if the straps are, 1.5 to 2 inches wide or so. Tank top is fine. But what I really love and what I've been really wearing a lot of lately are sleeveless tees that have more coverage here. A crew neck is great, and then like a sleeveless sort of situation. So the Cloud Top was released in probably last year when I was on my knitting hiatus and I missed it somehow. It's a DK weight, sleeveless summer top, and I believe in the pattern she calls for 2 strands of knitting for olive pure silk held together. Maybe 2 strands of Tin Lena by Sandnes Garn. I will most likely be knitting mine in the Sandnes Garn Lena, which is the DK weight. It's like a linen cotton viscose blend. But I've knit several, actually I knit my June top, my June tank in Lena. I also knit my square tee in this yarn, and I just really love it. It's an amazing summer yarn. I love the drape, I love the weight. So I'm considering actually doing something a little bit out of character and knitting it in this bright orangey poppy red sort of color, or potentially a navy, like a darker neutral would also be nice. So I'm not quite sure which direction we're going to go in regarding color, but I am really excited to knit the Cloud Top and see how it fits into my summer wardrobe. I really don't know what I would wear such a bright orangey red color with. I tend to wear a lot of black bottoms, black jeans, black pants, black skirts in the summer. I don't wear a lot of like blue denim, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to see. Maybe it's time I push myself out of my comfort zone a little bit color-wise and knit something in this like bright poppy red color. Staying with the summer knits, I do want to knit another square tee. This is a square neck tee pattern with short kind of cap sleeves by Arohi Pakar, also known as Knit Rohi. I loved knitting this pattern, and I love wearing this pattern. I knit mine in Sandnes Garn Lena, and I think it was like the light beige colorway. So it's super neutral, very light, goes with everything in my wardrobe, and I feel like the square neckline is really flattering. It's really easy to wear. I like how it shows, like if you're wearing a necklace, the necklace isn't interfering with your knit. I wore it a ton, and I would love to knit a second version. I am thinking that I might go with a Kelborn Woolens yarn. I've knit a few summer tops in their Mojave yarn, and I really love it. It's a sport-ish DK weight. I think it leans more like sport than DK. So I'll definitely have to swatch and maybe play around with gauge a little bit. But I love the Mojave yarn. It's another favorite summer yarn, and the colorways are gorgeous. I have, 3 options here I'm considering. I don't think I'll go with the lightest version, which is, I think, the colorway Natural. I think the 2 darker ones might be better, since I already have this top in a very light beige color. So the square tee, it's just really easy to wear. It's great with shorts, jeans, skirts. So yeah, I think another one is absolutely in my future this year. Another thing I'm really interested in knitting in 2025 is a garter, an all-over garter stitch cardigan. A couple years ago, I tested the cardigan by Tori Yu. I actually have it right here. And I love this cardigan a lot. I wear it a ton. It's super squishy. I do remember it being kind of a slog to get through. It's so much garter stitch, but it was 100% worth it. I love this garment. I still love the garter stitch, and I will either be knitting another one of these, or I'm also considering the Midland cardigan by Laura Penrose, which is another very recent release, and it is stunningly gorgeous. And I remember her posting a photo of it a couple years ago or last year. It was a while back, and I was immediately like, oh my god, I have to knit that. That's amazing. That's like perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for. I already knew I wanted to do another cardigan, or another garter stitch cardigan. So it's really, at this point in time, it's really a toss-up for me. I don't know which one I'm going to go with, but I don't know. I've actually never knit a cardigan with buttonholes, so I'm feeling a little bit intimidated by that. I think the Midland has a double knit button band, and the cardigan is just sort of finished with all over I-cord edging, which I also really like. I don't tend to button up my cardigans. I wear a lot of cardigans to work. As a teacher, it's great to be able to like throw them on, throw them off, depending on the temperature in the building and how active I am, how active my teaching is that particular day. So I don't know that I necessarily need to knit a cardigan with buttons. But this is also a project that's going to be later in the year as we're getting closer to fall. So I do have some time to think about it and some time to figure out exactly what I want. I've had another request from my daughter, and she would love for me to knit her a cabled sweater this year. She wants a cream or off-white cabled sweater, just sort of like a classic, when you think of like a cabled sweater, cabled fisherman sweater, that's what she wants. I don't typically knit cables unless they're on hats, but I I don't mind knitting cables. This is something that is definitely going to be later on this year. This might actually end up being a Christmas gift, potentially. So at this point in time, I have no idea what pattern, what yarn. Because I don't knit cabled sweaters, I am not super familiar with the patterns that are out there. So actually, if anyone out there has any suggestions, it does not need to be super involved, but I am putting up on the screen some photos that she sent me of her own inspiration. So if anyone out there has a suggestion for a cabled sweater pattern that would fit the bill, please let me know. This is definitely something for later this year. I don't have a pattern in mind yet, but I did want to show this is sort of a recent acquisition. My partner surprised me with these 2 skeins of Grenowy Yarn Company's linen sock base. This is the colorway Gormenghast, and I love Grenowy Yarn Company's yarn, and I've knit with it multiple times on various bases, but I've never tried the linen sock. So this is 90% superwash merino, 10% linen. And the colorway is just gorgeous. I only have these 2 skeins, so I'm thinking potentially the Metropolitan Pullover by Tori Yu, Tori Knits NYC. I think I have enough yarn to do that. I also believe it's a fingering held with a lace weight. And I think because of the open or like looser gauge, this would probably be enough. I mean, just like everything that Grenowy Yarn Company does, this yarn is beautiful. And it feels so nice. It just, you can kind of see it's drapey. I think that for a transitional or sort of more of a springy, a little more airy sweater, I think this yarn is going to be perfect for it. So that's also part of my 2025 knitting plans. So that's it for now. Always, of course, socks. I need more hand knit socks. I talked about this last time, but I recently wore a hole through my favorite pair of hand knit socks. So that tells me that I just need more in my rotation. So I'm definitely going to be knitting socks. I don't have a pattern for that in mind because I typically just knit vanilla socks anyway. But I do have a stash of sock yarn that's just waiting to be knit, and I need to get more socks on the needles. So that will always just sort of be happening in the background of all of these other bigger projects. But yeah, that is my 2025 knitting plan. We shall see if this keeps me accountable, keeps me organized. But yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be a lot of knitting, but I am right now very focused and the mojo is strong, so let's hope that it sustains. I hope you guys are all doing well, and I will see you next time.